I'm going to jump in. I'm going to share my screen and introduce myself. So my name is Terri Sullivan. I am the co-founder of a company called Waypoint. And we started, what happened for us is we started working with a lot of our clients and working with a lot of partners. So whether it was a digital marketing agency or a service that Sherrie offers, and we started to look at it kind of, we're all in silos and we're all presenting our services and to customers separately. But in the end, we all work together and our products interact together and working with Wade and working with other companies and their CRM Welcome Home. What we realized is that we are all trying to present our solutions in a silo. It would be better if we could present our solutions in a combined way. So as you're thinking about your strategy, how do you think about all the pieces and parts? And then how do these partners all work together? So I think the message behind this is find partners that are willing to work together and help you achieve your goals. And I think that's really important. So that's why we expanded Coffee with Waypoint to Coffee with Waypoint and Friends. So we'd focus less on ourselves and more on how do we work with others within the industry to serve our partners. So that's just a little background, and super happy to have Sherrie on with me today. We have worked together for a few years now. I might even be more than a few years. And I've worked with some of her portfolios when she was at CPA. And then we did a podcast together called Pivot to Profit for Senior Living. So super happy to have you with us today, Sherrie.
Thank you very much.
So just a little bit of my background for everybody. I've been really a professional salesperson my entire life. It really is what I've done most of my career until I decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur back in 2017, and I wanted to create tools that helped sales and marketing and senior living. I had been selling technology into senior living since 2007. And then becoming an entrepreneur is so awesome because what it allows me to do is talk to people, find out what their problems are, and then come up with ways to solve it, which in the end is the most fun part of it. And I love it. And just one fun fact about me, I actually have two. One of them is I love to sail. We have a sailboat. Her name is Lucia. And we race and cruise. I live in Connecticut on the shoreline, and we sail in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and New York. And if anybody's ever in this area and you want to go out for a sail, we would love to take you. But yeah, that's about me. And then the second fact is, before I introduce Sherrie and have her introduce herself, the last time, if you were on the last Coffee with Waypoint and Friends, I was wearing my Bruins jersey. The Bruins did, in fact, win that series against the Maple Leafs. But they went on to play a little known team in Florida called the Panthers. And it just happens to be that the woman who is a fan of the Panthers is on Coffee with Waypoint and Friends. So my nightmare expands because my husband or partner, whatever you'd like to call Rod, is a Rangers fan. And the Rangers are playing the Panthers right now. And if I understand correctly, Sherrie, you also know somebody who's on the Rangers. Is that right?
Actually, the Blackhawks.
The Blackhawks. Oh, we did go to the Blackhawks. Okay, so I'm saved. Yep. Anyways, it dawned on me today. I was like, oh no, now I got a Panthers fan on.
We are big hockey fans. Big hockey fans. And I'm thrilled. Sorry, I'm thrilled that I still have a Florida team in the running. First and foremost, I am a Lightning fan, but I'll take the Panthers because I'm in the state. So yes, I reside in the state of Florida.
That's true. Panthers are in Miami. Faux pas.
There we go. Yes. I'll take it. However, I can get it. Huge hockey fan. Thank you for inviting me. I am thrilled to be here. If you didn't catch it at the beginning, I think we're more comedians than we are commentators or panelists. I also want to forewarn you that this is the first live podcast I've done. Purposely, because I like it when it's recorded and you can edit. So I'm going to apologize ahead of time if something slips or something just doesn't sound right. I don't want to offend anybody. I try to be on my best behavior in public. So there, I just want to put that out there as a disclaimer. I also I'm a big talker, and I feel like I have so much to offer and so much that I love to talk about. And this being an incredible platform, I'm going to try to keep it as narrow as possible, but I will probably go on. Sherrie Bebell, president of Catalyst Senior Living Solutions and the Senior Living Financial Specialist Program. I've been in the industry more than 20 years, predominantly in sales and marketing. I have been able, I've had the ability and the grace and the incredible opportunity to grow my career from on-site sales leadership to regional direct, divisional, corporate, and spent the last 7.5 years with private equity. So my view at our industry, specifically for sales and marketing, every single day is identifying value at every stakeholder level. If you don't know me, you probably don't know me. I didn't see a lot of names I recognized here on the list today. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I just want to give. I am a giver. I want everybody to be successful. I think the more we share in this industry, the more successful we all will be. And there's a lot to gain from this industry, a lot of prospective residents to gain from this industry. I know we all can win. Because I want to give, I tend to come up with some fun new acronyms and some fun new ways and perspectives of looking at our industry, because I know that for every voice that somebody hears, they might get something out of it. So I had a few themes when I started this year that I shared with anybody and everybody, because I have a why. Why do my feet hit the ground every day and come into this office and thrive and want to give back to this industry? And that is to identify opportunities for achievement. And that is not for me. The achievement is for everybody that comes into contact with me. So my couple of themes that I came up with this year, first one was actually a re-theme, pivot to profit. Terri and I started a podcast a couple years ago called Pivot to Profit. You probably find us out there somewhere from a few generation hairdos ago. But I think it's still valid. Not looking in the rearview mirror, right? We need to look at what our data is telling us every single day and make changes. Your network is your net worth. We all need to have friends. We all need to be in this industry and bring in more and more to our networks, because that's how we're going to grow not only ourselves, but our companies, our communities. And today's a good day for a move-in, right? Moving ADC means we need to focus on move-ins every single day of the month, not just the last day of the month. So those were the 3 themes that I started out this year. I have 3 new acronyms for you today. Hopefully you pick up on them. There will be a test at the end of our session today, or I'm always available for text, smoke signals, pigeon carriers, emails. I'm open. So as if that's not enough of a fun fact about Sherrie, I want to be able to share just real quick. This is top of mind. This is an aha moment I've had in the last 10 days. So this is super exciting to be able to share it all fresh and new. I am a novice and what is called an excitable scuba diver. So just got back from vacation. We were down in the Caribbean, had an opportunity to scuba dive. I am a very reluctant scuba diver. I do it because my husband loves it and I love my husband and I want to participate in activities that make him happy, especially when we're on vacation. However, because I am a novice and I'm what the dive masters will call excitable, meaning like I see something and it just kind of scares me. So I'm very reluctant going into the water. My first dive this year, I swear to you, it's coming to a point. My first dive on our last trip, I was completely unprepared. I could not level my breathing out. My mind was on the fact that I was going deeper than I had ever gone before. There are sharks in the water in the Caribbean. That's all I kept thinking about was a shark was going to eat me, this little guppy in the water. So all these things were in my head, right? But I still got in the water because here I am, I'm committed and I'm with my husband and I'm going to do it. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to die. God doesn't want me. The devil doesn't want me yet. Trust me. I know I'm going to be fine, but I get in the water anyway. I get down to the 65 feet and I still can't control my breathing. So I'm like hyperventilating inside my regulator. And I was like, I knew then and there I was not going to be able to level it out. So I turned to my husband and I was like, I got to go up. Of course, he freaks out. The dive master took me up anyway, and he was able to maintain down. But I got up to the boat and I was so upset with myself that I didn't take that minute or two to just settle myself, really think through, maybe ask some more questions just to feel like I was prepared for it, right? So I was mad at myself that it happened. And I will tell you, talked myself through it, prepared myself better, went down for the second tank, and literally, because I was more prepared and I was paying attention and I asked a lot of other questions to the dive masters, I had the dive of my life. I've only been scuba diving for 5 years, and it changed my entire perception on it. I tell you this because I came up with a new acronym, because while I was going through that and thinking I did not prepare myself, I am a salesperson. You prepare yourself, you ask questions, you reset your mind. I thought, how can I use this story and the fear of the sharks in the water and all of the other things that were going through my own mindset to turn this into a learning opportunity from a sales perspective. So SCUBA is a new acronym. Steal it, use it, I'll send it to you. But if you think about it like this, S is survey, that's your discovery. C is connect, establishing your rapport. U is uncovering, right? Do that deep dive with your prospects and tell me more. B is bridging, and that's creating and discovering what that solution is that you're going to present to your prospective residents. And A is advancing the next steps. I don't know if anybody's come up with that new acronym or has used that acronym before, but I wanted to be able to share something with you all today that was very relevant to a very top of mind life lesson I learned. Sorry for such a long introduction.
All good. You know that I have a better one for you. It's not about you.
Oh, there you go.
It's about the customer.
I like, okay, I'm gonna put that in there as well.
Feel that.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Sherrie. I think it's important from a credibility perspective for you all to understand what we do too if we haven't met. So as the founder of Waypoint, we actually have website lead capture tools. We work with wonderful customers, and what we basically do is help greet website visitors and convert them into the sales funnel. And we've created a navigator, and it's just a hub. It can have downloads in it. It can have schedule a tour. It can have live chat. You can put a chat bot into it. It's a super flexible product. And then we also have high converting pro forms that are customizable. So we customize forms, streamline them, send everything to GA4, your marketing automation platform, your CRM. We have advanced integrations and basic integrations, but our whole thing is how do we help you use that most valuable part of your website, which is the most valuable real estate you have on the website, and be able to offer up different CTAs to your website visitors and potential customers, so they can choose how they want to engage with you. Right? If they want to self-serve, or however they want to engage with you. So we integrate with Rubric and Threshold 360 and SiteStaff, and we have our own live chat solution called Juvo. So for us, it's really all about how do we help you greet those visitors and get them into your sales funnel. That's where we live every day, and trying to improve upon that. And now we're looking at layering AI on it. So that's where we live and that's where we function. So I'm going to turn it over to Sherrie so she can tell you about her company. Well, before I do that, I just want to say I'm coming at this session when I reached out to Sherrie from the perspective that our data and what our data shows when people come to your websites, what they want and what they're looking for. And we're going to share that data. But I'm coming from that side. I'm coming from the marketing side. When those visitors come to your website, what are they looking for? What are they trying to self-serve? What do they need to find? And then Sherrie's taking it on the sales side. So Sherrie, go ahead.
Great partnership and incredible segue. Thank you. Mine is pretty simple and straightforward. We are a service provider, a group of senior living sales experts who are only focused on the financial aspect of the sales process. So what we've done is curated more than 20 resources financial and move management resources into a one-stop shop with a one point of contact for all possible solutions. So it's a service, and we partner with senior living communities, operators, and communities to help augment and help the communities with the prospective residents who have already inquired to your community, to help them understand the financial impact and identify financial resources to either help them move into your community or maintain residing in your community. So it actually sounds, it's really pretty simple. We're helping you close more leads, the leads that require much more time and usually end up as a lost close in your database, or your sales team will typically move on to the next lead that maybe won't require as much time or have as many objections. So that's who we are, and that's what we provide.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right. So today there's a few things we want to cover. So just kind of setting the agenda. We named it the sticky wicket because in senior living, clearly it's a complex sale. There's physical, emotional, it's just it's a unique sale. It reminds me more of a B2B sale, which I always say, because it is definitely more complex. So it is a bit of a sticky wicket. And I think it was kind of a fun title to get us cited. Yeah, exactly. So there's a few takeaways. We're going to just talk about the consumer search and journey, what they're feeling, what's happening. Lots changed since the pandemic. Of course, the way people purchase and how they're shopping. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to address senior living costs throughout the customer journey and the senior living sales process. And then we're going to just give you some best practices and tips that you could walk away with or share with your teams for navigating, right, this subject and helping customers understand what that is. And this is, there are quite a few people on here, but feel free if you want to unmute and ask questions. We'd love it to be more back and forth. And we do have a couple questions for you guys to kick off. Peggy is managing the chat. So if you want to put a question in or you have any information that you want to share, put it right into chat and Peggy will just read it out for you and get it out there. So question number one, we want to ask you, if you don't mind, just on a scale of 1 to 10 in chat, how confident are you that you or your sales teams are doing a good job talking about pricing with prospects? Just 1 to 10.
Six. Melissa says 6.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Mary Lou says 5.
If you're not managing a sales team, maybe you have an understanding or heard about or some of the challenges, or it's not necessarily if it's just you managing it, but
yeah,
because we do have quite a wide variety of.
That's true. That's true. And then the other side of that question, and I think which is really important, and Sherrie brought this up, we got together yesterday to think about what we wanted to make sure that we shared with you all today, is how confident that your customers are assured and they understand the pricing structure. So
Michelle
same thing.
Michelle says 8.
8. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Anybody want to jump in and chime in on the one on the how assured you are that the customer understands?
Melissa says 2.
Oh, okay.
As I would say, it's pretty darn accurate.
Thank you, Melissa. That's a good way to kick off. Okay, great.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Sherrie. Sherrie, why don't you talk about your data and what you've learned through Senior Living Financial Specialists, and then I'll take it from the website side.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I mean, this should not be a surprise to anybody. We know that the enhancement and the sophistication of digital post-COVID has triggered up our online presence and the first, set of research. So 80% of research is done online. The data here is actually supplied from Bob Kramer from Nexus Insight, who had performed a survey and gave this out to us as consumers and professionals to be able to utilize. Part of how they feel, right, and what their expectations are, delivers us some of these data points. So 80% of our research is done online. 90% of those researching are looking for financial information and financial resources. How can I help pay for moving into a community? But even further than that, it's the financial information is really about the transparency of pricing. I'm going to say we're a TikTok nation now, right? We want our answers. We want it right now. We want it fast. We're looking at something for 30, 45, 60 seconds. Yes, that's us in our age, but trust me, it is flowing up into our researchers and our adult children influencers as well. They want their answers quick, and they don't want to have to keep looking for that information. I also think the incredible stuff that came out of Bob Kramer's survey here is 50% plus actually feel fearful, worried, anxious as they're going through the research process for long-term care. I think that is so powerful to help set the stage, understanding this, set the stage as we continue talking about the demographics and the psychographics, and talk and thinking through how is it that we're training today's sales teams and sales teams, I'm going to say leadership teams, because everybody's a salesperson, right? Every person who collects a paycheck in a senior living community is responsible for occupancy. So I'm going to leave it at that broad stroke, but understanding how they're feeling is so important to being able to deliver and understand. And the quality of information. I was actually going to block the bottom part out for that one aggregator that's in here, but it was a very specific question. It wasn't my survey. It wasn't my responses, but to know that 80% of the research is done online. 90% of them are looking for financial information, transparency, and resources. And yet still only 10% are actually confident with what they find online. The aggregator's in there because it was a question, but to know that our absolute number one besides online search, right, is this lead aggregator, and to know that people who use it actually don't trust them. We need a change in this industry. But to look also at that 42%, 20, 34%, and 30% long-term care specialists, right? They're looking for professional help. That's important to them. And then the other three are your influencers, your doctor, your family members, your community. Knowing where they're looking and what they're looking for, I think is imperative to help us from a marketing standpoint.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Do you want, I think we'll get into the actual psychographics here in a couple to understand them a little bit further.
That sounds good. And from the Waypoint side, just to share a little data kind of to back up what Sherrie's saying from in industry vendor who's servicing senior living providers' websites and capturing the data on what's happening on the websites themselves, over hundreds of thousands of interactions. Pricing and specials is the number one converting CTA in the sales funnel over everything. And downloadable content is number two, but supporting what Sherrie is saying is that when people are coming to your website, if they can't self-serve, and I think that's part of the struggle in the industry is, and Sherrie, maybe you can even talk to this, is that, and maybe even Wade might want to weigh in on this, is that there is this complexity, or not complexity, it's, what's the best word to say? We know that customers are coming, they want to find that information, they want to self-serve, but the industry may be transparent with their pricing or may not. And we understand why, right? We understand that because most people don't understand what resources they could potentially have or use to pay for senior living so you can turn them off. So there's this kind of meet in the middle of how do you give them what they need so they feel good? You would never go look at a house that wasn't in your price range. Right. Just wouldn't as a real estate if you were buying a piece of real estate. But at the end of the day, you don't want them to think, well, if it's $5,000 or $6,000 a month and they happen to have, and it's assisted living or memory care and they happen to have long-term care insurance, like how do you communicate that up front to help these people understand more. And we're doing some interesting things on our pro forms with education around the pricing structure. And did you know, that sort of stuff and like educational snippets. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, because I think the industry, a lot of folks in the industry are being very transparent about a starting at price. And then others are still holding back because they fear if they don't have that conversation, they'll lose that customer.
Yeah. Thinking about the psychographics, and I know we're going to get deeper into that here in a second.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely correct. It's about 50-50. 50% of our industry, our operators are happy to be able to put that.
I mean, that's higher than I would have thought, actually.
50% are still holding back. There's that thought process of if you can't explain the value of that cost, then you feel like you're going to lose more leads than you would get, which is it's the way it's always been, kind of, right? Like that's our old adage. That's the way we've always felt. You never give out pricing until you can, sell them on that value. I think we're thinking through looking at the prospective residents who are coming at us now, their sophistication, their expectations. Having a starting at price is, I think, not only are they looking for it, it's what they expect, but I think you're shooting yourself in your foot. This is my personal opinion. I am not your expert. I do not write your philosophy for your company, but if you don't have something to get them started, they're going to move on to the next site that does give them something. Yeah. So, I mean, you've got lost leaders, you've got, just room rate without care. There are a lot of different ways to work at least something into your philosophy and marketing that doesn't turn the majority off, but at least gives them a starting point. And I think there's a lot to be gained at looking at websites and content on a very regular basis, right? And making sure that you're telling the story that you're trying to tell, that shows your differentiator in that market and tells the story of that community. So you're selling your value subliminally while you're still providing them with something. And pricing and specials. I want to poke my eyes out on specials. Personally, I'm going to tell you, coming from the investor side.
Well, I had to embed that in because that was like fall savings, spring savings. I know. 1 month, whatever. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I'm a incentive closer when needed, but not a marketer incentive. So I don't know. That's me personally.
I gotcha. That's great. So I think when we look at the problem, I think we've already addressed this, is that it is a complex sale. It's probably one of the most interesting sales on the planet, if you ask me. Most people don't do it more than once or twice in their lifetime, maybe for themselves one day. But, and with pricing being one of the top concerns, if you're not addressing it in the marketing and sales process, then as Sherrie said, is they could be falling off your website. They could be going somewhere else if they're not seeing what they need. And a lot of consumers are getting that way. They want to self-service. They want to find what they need really, really quickly. So we're going to jump into that. Sherrie's going to go through some stickies. She called them stickies, which I thought was really fun, in navigating the complexities of senior living costs. So I'm going to turn it over to Sherrie again and go ahead and jump in.
First of all, there are more stickies than any of us could ever cover. Right?
I was gonna say, but we only have so much time today.
Yes. Know that we are open to having conversations on a one-off at any point in time. I love to talk about the challenges in this industry and throw things at the wall in a good way, like the ideas at the wall, not throw things at the wall, to continue to identify a different way to look at things. I want to kind of step back though and talk about the demographics and the psychographics before we get into the full stickiness of the cost structure. I think it's very important for us to understand and agree that our psychographics, the buying behavior, our demographics are changing, which brings in a change in the psychographics, the buying behavior, and the expectations of our prospective residents coming at us. And of course, I had to pull up some facts and some data. We know that there is an acceleration of the demographics coming at us, which is in our favor, to be quite honest with you, though we've got some headwinds that we're facing, and that is in the supply. somebody who has spent the last 7.5 years with 200 plus communities and working on occupancy and revenue, I will tell you, I've been waiting for this to come. Please, Jesus, bring it, because we know that there are a lot of communities out there that are still struggling with occupancy. But just to give you some numbers to really make this, I know you've heard them before, but let's put it fresh in our mind. In 2025, the first baby boomers will turn 80, but we will also need approximately 200,000 additional units in our industry. By 2028, we're going to need another 549,000 units. And by 2030, which is 6 years from now, we're going to need an additional 806,000 units. First of all, that scares me, right? We're going to have more residents coming at us than we have units available. Any developers and other investors that are on this call or will listen and watch this call at some point, please start building. We're going to need it.
You know what? It was like 10 years ago that we had these numbers that we would use them even in our sales presentations, and now we're here.
Yeah, we're here. Well, you know, and everything takes 2 years at least.
Yeah.
In my entire professional career, and I'll go back to like beginning at age 23. And I would kid about this. It didn't really hit me until I was probably in my late 30s that it actually made sense. But I worked for a developer, and I swear I would give him ideas and he would execute on them like 2.5 years later. And I'd be like, Dennis, I talked to you about that 2 years ago. All of a sudden you think it's a great idea. But that is us. That is, I think it's natural in the way that we are just human professionals. We can resonate on an idea, but it does take time for it to come to fruition. So, you know, we've got 2 years, we're here and in it now. We need to be working towards it. Today's 85-year-old resident was 40 years old in 1979.
Oh, crazy.
Think about that. I got 1979. What was happening? So our residents coming in at 85 today, where they were in the prime of their life at 40 was very different than most of the residents living in our communities today, right? This is also the incoming residents is the first generation to witness in history their loved ones living longer than they expected. Yeah.
Doesn't go back that long. It's like 150 years or something that people only lived into their 50s and 60s. I mean, it's not a huge stretch. Yeah.
This is the baby boomers witnessed their parents living longer than they had expected, which is also bringing top of mind to our next, and you know, I would say it's today's prospective resident. I have to say that because I can't keep saying it. They're coming. Will their wealth span equal their lifespan? So we've already been hearing this for quite some time. I won't have enough money to last me for the rest of my life, right? Finances are top of mind. And don't layer in the, you know, inflation and interest and the real estate market, like all of the things that are happening today from a financial standpoint. There is a lot going on in everybody's head when it comes to financials. And it's going to be top of mind, whether you're staying at home, living at home, you're 50 years old, or you're 85 years old. Financials is top of mind for everybody. I also want to just give a quick highlight to the silent generation, those residents living in our communities today versus the baby boomers coming in. You really think through this, the silent generation, they did everything themselves. They changed their oil. They rotated their tires. They did their own taxes. They rarely, if ever, went to the doctor, never a specialist, right? Like they had the same family doctor that helped them deliver their children that, you know, still took care of them into their 50s and 60s. They were self-served. They relied on their employers for their retirement benefits and Social Security, right? They had pensions, they had savings, they had 401s. That was their mindset. The baby boomers coming in today are very different. They grew up with going to every doctor and every specialist. They take their car to go get oil changes and rotate tires. They go to the experts in every possible discipline, right? So our sales process with those residents who live in our community today was, we're going to talk to them on the phone. We're going to create, do discovery. We're going to create rapport. They're going to be happy and excited to come in for lunch and spend time with us because they haven't really spent any time with anybody lately. I promise you, it was with the silent generation, even though it seems very hard, and inquiry to visit conversion ratios have declined over time. But I promise you, the getting the boomers in your inquiry to visit is I know decreasing compared to the silent generation. So understanding who was, now who is, understanding who they are and what they're looking for, they're skeptical, right? They don't trust you. That's who they are. I think it's so imperative that we think through that and use that shift in understanding to help better train our sales leaders today and make that shift. It's imperative. So what knowing that everything's top of mind for them, the financial situation, how it's going to impact them, how they have or have not prepared for their senior living experience from a cost perspective, the number one question has never changed, right? When they call your community, what's the first question is, how much does it cost to live there? They don't know what other question to ask. 9 times out of 10, that's the first question. And
we have a comment from Michelle. She says, we hear that all the time. What happens when I outlive my money?
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So how do they respond today? First of all, who's taking that call? Receptionist, nurse, CNA after hours, MOD on the weekend, maybe a call center, maybe it's going to a voicemail, maybe it's going to a full box email, voicemail. Who is taking that call and how are they set up to be able to answer those questions? I will tell you, we get the mystery shops all the time, and it's either they're giving out the information, they're like, oh, it's $5,000 to live here. And the person's like, thank you, click, right? They don't know how to answer that question. Most of the time, it is very, very hard to know how to answer that question. I put on here, the statement and call of the first inquiry is, I saw your website, right? Because most of the calls are coming, most of the research is done online, 80%. We already know 90% of them are looking for financial transparency and financial resources. Now they call the community. I saw your website. That's usually what they say, right? I saw your website. If you think about use part of your training, these people are skeptical, assuming, and worried. That should be like a trigger point for training. Help your front desk understand that. How can I help them feel confident and comfortable? How can I get them to the next step, knowing how they're feeling? So I feel like the stickiest point, number one, is how to handle that first question. How am I training? Who am I training? How am I training? What do they know? What do they understand? What are they looking for? So that I can help increase that inquiry to visit by that first impression. I don't want to let the baby out with the bathwater here, but I also feel like those communities who are engaged in our program, in the financial specialist program, when we go through our training with their entire leadership team and their front desk, we help them very simply. That's going to be the first question. And you want to open that shade and lower the shoulders of that prospective resident or adult child influencer calling. That's their number one question. You want to be able to give them something to help them feel more comfortable. We train, first line train, like, here's how you start, and then you can build upon this. Is, I understand why that is so important to you. 9 out of 10 of the prospective residents or researchers who call our community, that's their number one question as well. You're in really great company, and we know how important the financial understanding the financial, or what the cost is of living in our community is. And because it is so important, we actually have an entire financial specialist team who will work with you to understand your financial situation and identify resources to help cover those costs, right? Like, there's a way that you can say it. You can say it in in 5 words. You can say it in a short little paragraph that person, what do they hear? They hear, I get that it's important and I have a solution for you. You don't necessarily have to give out that cost. I don't know who's got.
If somebody's got like a television or a radio in the background.
Sorry.
Terry, you should be able to mute people.
Yeah, hold on one second.
On your
I'll
side.
mute everybody.
So again, that's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but just knowing that there are ways to sidestep and give them the.
It was so much fun to watch.
I think somebody's at a community.
They were.
All right.
Ability is everything because the summer months are here. And
Sticky
this
too?
is worse.
Oh, I think I found it. Oh, wait. I found it. It's Michael. Hold on. There we go. Michelle. It might have been Michelle.
Unmute. Okay, I had to unmute. So sticky 2. I mean, I don't have to.
Oh, sorry, I
keep
went
going through 2
forward.
and
Hold
3.
on, hold on, hold on.
That's okay.
Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. You know, before you go on to sticky 2 too, I have a couple of thoughts I just wanted to share with you while I was listening to you so intently. I think that in the end, everybody is in sales. And I think a lot of people don't think of themselves as salespeople, but at the end of the day, we're all in this in sales. You know, when Peggy services our customers, she's in sales. When Brenda's servicing, we're all in sales. We're all there to support our customers. The other thing that was really interesting is we do have one customer who has 72 sites, and they utilize our product. And in the at the end of last year, they were using a caregiver guide, thinking that, oh, I just want to be a resource to the families and to the older adults that come to our website. And I want to give them a caregiver guide. And the conversion rates on that, it was like, give your name and number, download the guide. It was okay, right? But then they switched out after looking at how people interacted with the request pricing CTA. They put a financial guide, a financial downloadable guide to help people. And it blew through the roof. It is like 60% of all converting CTAs. And they had a 300% increase in converting call to actions utilizing the download a financial guide, because that is what people want to learn. And that does allow them to be able to process the information. You don't have to give them everything on it, but it does give them the opportunity to self-serve and feel like they got an initial answer. And then the salesperson, they're converted into the sales funnel so they can still follow up and see if they have any questions and start that conversation. But at least the person was primed to start thinking about it. So it was when I did I was doing all of our customers kind of as a collective statistics. And it was like, oh my gosh, like, wow, you know, crazy numbers. So anyways, just a thought and might be helpful to others, you know, that are here today.
I agree. We actually supply our communities, our operators and our communities with the financial guide to put as a download on their navigator, on their websites, because you're absolutely correct. I would love to get that exact data statistic though, so I can start.
You got it. Oh, I absolutely will send it
Thank
to you.
you.
I'll share it with everybody on this call. Actually, I will look it up and I'll share the data with everybody because I think it's worth considering if you're not doing it, actually considering it. And this was just recently that I was like, wow, that's crazy. So anyways.
I believe it. Well, go back to what our data told us before, right? Like 80% is done online, 90% are looking for financial resources. They want to be self-guided. They want to get their own answers very quickly before they move on to onto their next step in their research pattern. And here, this is a, you're going to love this. This is a Chat GPT query I did yesterday, very specific to senior living. I couldn't find anybody that had any data, like how much online, how many different sites would a prospective resident and adult child go to possibly as they were going through their research. So I'm going to tell you, this is not backed by anything other than Chat GPT, who crawled through the entire web internet, but I wanted to be able to give you at least some baseline. I don't think this is far off either. So first, let's talk about website personalization, right? We talked about the psychographics, Terry, on the call to actions and how important those are, but it's also what our baby boomers and our current prospective residents, they're not looking for information overload. Like too much to read is too much. If you think about how many emails, campaigns do we get in our inboxes, right? As salespeople, marketing people, operations here in senior living. I got back from vacation, over 800 emails. Maybe 200 were actual business emails. The other 600 were like just information or sales or marketing pieces. So we're not all going to read everything, and they're not looking for too much. They need just enough. So information overload is something that's very important. The quality of the information is important. Credibility. Who are you? What do your testimonials say? What are your reviews on your site? And quick, easily identifiable and easily used call to actions. Out of all the research I've done for many, many years, those are the top 4 things that are most important, especially here to these baby boomers from a marketing standpoint. You look at these websites that the common query for senior living or long-term care would go. The initial research, what they have given me is they would typically look at 4 queries. So whether Google, Bing, Apple, near me, whatever the case may be. However, what I thought, this I don't think is far off the mark. Somebody please tell me if you think it's different. We've got some marketing agencies here on the call. 15 detailed information gathering. Now, when I looked at the definition in ChatGPT, what that was very specific to, they're going to look at 15 communities, operators, like management coming,
Really?
like that kind of thing. 15 sites. Yeah. And honestly, I don't think that's far off, to be honest with you. Think about the radius of our competition, right? It used to be 3 to 5 miles because you would have to get in your car and drive around to look at the communities, right? Before the internet became so prolific. Then COVID happened and the sophistication and the digital boom and whatnot for our industry, every industry. Everybody does everything online now. That expanded our search area because now they could look, I want a 20-minute drive. Well, guess what? That zigzags you and jaggeds you on an entire map. You could go in a lot of different areas and you were able to look and funnel down before you made that drive. So I don't think 15 is far off. The response also gave me 4 supplementary research. That would be like the testimonials, the reviews, Google, checking out 2 social sites. That's again, I go back, demographic, psychographic. This is how many places they're looking at. What does your marketing look like? What is the story you tell? You know what's most important to them now, right? Through the psychographic understanding. How does your site deliver to get them to make that call or whatever your next advancement step would be from your marketing? And then I go back to my scuba, right? Discovery. It's not about you. Bridging and advancement. I saw a TikTok video the other day about sales, and this person, I can't recall exactly who it was, but the number stood out to me. 68% of salespeople, this is across any industry, not specific to senior living, 68% of salespeople do not have a sales process. Well, guess what? I've been diving for 5 years. My husband's been diving for over 30 years. I was in that boat with 6 other people. I watched them put their gear on. I didn't have a process. So it doesn't surprise me that sales leaders in communities don't think about what they're going to do before they do it. They're not preparing themselves, right? When we talk about this all the time in sales training, you want to have a plan, right? You pull up your CRM, you see who you're going to call. What was your last interaction? What's your plan for that call? You go to do business development, external business development. Where are you going and what's your plan? What's your outcome? What's your desired outcome? I didn't have it in my head, and I wouldn't say that scuba diving taking my life in my hand. I don't know, as a salesperson, I'm taking my life in my hands as well. What is the process? How
Feels
are
like
we
it.
coping? Right? Hey, there are sharks everywhere. Okay. I swam with the sharks. They're everywhere.
I love being in sales. I loved it.
Because we can look everything. I swear in this industry, it's probably the only industry we can say this. Everything that happens in the building is marketable and it is for sale, right? Everything that happens is used in the sales process. So I feel like it's no surprise. We all know we need to have a process. I go back to the psychographics and the demographics. What's coming at us? Do we have open, work in process training happening on a regular basis. All of us here are at a different level. We might have some on-site sales leaders here in the group, I'm not sure, but most of us are not. It's our commitment to the success of our communities to continue investing in those people, right? And that means having really broad conversations on these sticky points. How can I help you create your differentiator and understand who you're working with and what's important to them, right? Understand where they're coming from. That was my part of the sticky process, assessing their care needs. How do I sell to them? What is my process and how am I helping my team be prepared for it?
And then also, how does that all relate into the selling process of the pricing and right? I mean, at the end of the day, it all leads up into that. Interesting. Okay.
All right, so I won't recap sticky 1 and 2 because we just did that. On the left-hand side here of the screen, this is from our friends at Rubric. We all love Rubric. Stands out top of mind. Do you think, this is a question in one of their surveys, and the responses, do you think you're financially prepared? If you add up, I'm not sure, no, I don't think so, and maybe I need help understanding options, those 3 outweigh, yes, I have done some planning, right? We know that's very important to them, their number 1 concern. Overcoming objections related to financial barriers. It goes back to the training, back to Sticky Wicket 1, that when we were talking about it, and how can you help whoever's answering that first phone call or making that first phone call feel more confident and comfortable about overcoming, helping them feel confident and comfortable, knowing what's important to them. And they're skeptical and they're assuming. They think they know what they're talking about, our prospective residents, but we know they aren't, and we know they're worried. So how are we helping them overcome those objections? I have been running the financial specialist program for 3 years. We launched June 1st of 2021. So almost a 3-year anniversary here. And we've collected a lot of answers that we got from operators, from VPs, from community level. How do you respond to when somebody says, I'm not ready yet? Okay, I'm not ready yet because I have to sell my house. I'm not ready yet because I don't know if I can use my long-term care. I'm not ready yet because I can't afford it. Like, how do you answer those questions? How we answer them today, how we answer them yesterday for our last demographic generation psychographic, it needs to be very different than how we answer them today. In the 20+ resources that we have in our program, most of the prospective residents that we help move into the communities or help close to move in and utilizing the resources, most are using more than one resource. They need multiple resources. And you reach out to me, I will fully explain every resource to you and how our program helps and benefits. It's what we've learned in 3 years, and we're still learning every single day. You can put this with that, and oh my God, look what just happened. And it's amazing. The utilization, the customization of the utilization of these resources there's no end to it. It's amazing. So exploring that piece, I think, is when you get answer to that, it's going to help with Sticky Wicket number 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know we only have 4 minutes left. So if I could just real quick on the, I want to help you understand what a real quick case study that I put out here. We have a community in our program. We consider them a high utilization community. Did you have that slide?
Sorry, I thought you were going to.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
Another acronym of impact.
Impact.
I was waiting for the impact acronym.
Text me. I will give you my impact acronym.
I will share it with you all when we do our follow-up recording.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we have a community that's in our program. They've been in it 33 months. They've been active 27 out of 33 months. Their starting occupancy was 60%. It is currently 91%. So in 33 months, they have increased 31% occupancy. basically that's a 3% increase quarter over quarter. They've increased their Rev 4 by $347, increased community fees by $1,136. This is what I love. I don't care about all the rest of it. Yes, those are outcomes. They've had a 30% reduction in financial loss closed leads. That
The
to
ones
me,
that are falling through the cracks.
falling through, or they just close because they say they can't afford it.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. And we've helped them, 22% of their total move-ins is what we have helped to contribute. So it basically turns out to be about 1.5 per month additional move-ins that we're helping them close. The time that we spend in the sales process and helping these families actually escort and chaperone them through the financial resources equates to about 8.5 hours per move-in. So if you think about, if your sales team is not spending time with these leads, you're losing those additional move-ins. If they are, I've not seen a single community that has in the last 3 years, but if they are, I would be giving you back 8.5 hours. So an entire day per move-in. And what could your sales team be doing with that time, with other responsibilities? So that is that. I did too much talking at the front end.
No, it's all good. I would like to move it open for questions. So we'll both stay on if you guys have any questions. There was one thing I just wanted to say was we did a pilot with skilled nursing last year, and they have 75 locations. And what we learned really quickly through the data we captured is that those people are so at the bottom of the funnel. So we simply put up a call to action that said, get admission ready. And it just blew up. Like when you look at your data and you're understanding how it works, I mean, it's so key, right? With folks. But anyways, please feel free to submit questions through the chat. I hope you guys found this information useful, but go ahead and ask any questions if you'd like. And we're going to send out a recording if you want to share it with your teams as well. So we'll do a follow-up. Got a question, Peg?
No, I just said thank you to everyone for attending and
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
reach out with questions.
Yeah. And before everybody jumps off, next month on June 21st, we're going to be talking about CCRC's website and lead conversion. And we have a guest from every age coming. So we're really excited about that. So if you guys want to keep an eye on that, we'd love to have you. So, okay. Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you, Terri.
Yeah, no, it was great. Thank you
love
so
working
much.
with
I
you.
get to learn a little bit more about your business too, which was really interesting. And I think that everybody's in the same boat trying to figure this out, you know?
Katie has a
agree.
question.
Sure.
What is one easy change sales teams can implement to work on these sales changes?
We're in senior living. There's nothing easy. Just kidding. My first that comes top of mind is just take a breath before you answer that call. Like take a breath, reset yourself, be genuine on that call and be open-minded. And not that I think that we don't have a lot of that already happening. But sometimes just resetting yourself before you pick up that phone, or giving your team the ability to do that. I feel like a lot of pressure is put on our on-site sales leaders. And, you know, as somebody who manages sales teams, you got to give them room to breathe and not micromanage, and give them the ability to shine where they can. Beyond that, Katie, I would say that it's going to come right now down to training. It's going to come down to continuing ed, support, training, to understand. We throw sales leaders out there in the field all the time, and we, you know, it's baptism by fire. Shouldn't say that in senior living, but we put them out there and see, what can you do before I'm going to try and train you. And there has been a shift. If we're not helping them understand the shift and who they're working with, we're doing them a disservice. So I guess
I have an idea that could be very, very simple that you could apply. And, you know, as a sales professional myself, and also trying to represent our company, writing websites, writing marketing language, talking to customers, I want to make sure that everybody on our team has a good understanding of what our 10 to 30-second elevator pitch is. And I think that you could apply that to this same thing. When somebody is going to pick up the phone, and we know that 90% of the time the question is going to be about price, can you arm your sales teams or your front desk or whoever answers the phone with a simple script? Now they can personalize it to themselves. They can
Right,
memorize
that's
it.
true.
But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what I used to have an old boss who used to say, repetition is the mother of learning. And at the end of the day, that is part of it, right? In order to have everybody on the team understand and be able to speak the language of the company, because it's really important. It's your brand, it's who you are, it's what you believe in. I mean, I said it earlier, where we live every day is how do we help convert more qualified leads from your website visitors into your sales funnel? That's where we live. It's simple, right? But at the end of the day, I think prepping them with some type of script, whether they use it exactly or not, those
Right.
top points will come out and help prep them to be better at addressing that. So I think that could be key. Just a thought.
That's perfect.
Any other questions? I see we have some other things. Anything else out there, Peg?
Wade said, thanks, Sherrie and Terry. Katie
Great.
said, love that. Thank you.
We love you, Wade.
He jumped off
He
already.
jumped off.
Oh, you missed it. I'm gonna have to send him a text.
For those, there are many that were on this call I've never met. I know even many more who registered because I know they wanted the recording, Terry. We know that, right?
Oh no, yeah, we're gonna send the recording for sure.
So, which is great. Were many that registered and many that are on the call I've never personally met, and I would love to be able to meet you, know who you are, where you sit in this industry, and what your goals are. Your network is your net worth. I'm sure that was one of my top 3 themes for this year. I want to grow my network, so I would love for you to reach out to me, or I hope you don't mind if I reach out to you.
All I know is it changed my life when I reached out to you. It did. No lie.
Vice versa.
No
I don't know if
lie. So
anybody's
I think
still
it's always
listening.
good to keep your networks open. You never know. You just never know. So anyway.
We have been fast and furious friends and colleagues and contributors to this industry. And I will tell you, I was struggling a couple of weeks ago and could not get past some barriers. And I reached out to Terry, and within 3 minutes.
You still didn't read the book though. Okay, this is our tip. The one thing, if you have a busy schedule, I don't even know if anybody's still on, but if you haven't read this book, it really prioritizes and help you prioritize what you have going on in your life and your job. It is an excellent, excellent book. And it just really forces you to think about what's most important to you and then how you focus on it. But Sherry's going to read it at some point, but she gets the concept. Anyways, thank you, everybody. I hope everyone has a wonderful Memorial Day. We're both here if you guys want to talk to us about what we do and how we do it. We'd love to. But in the end, I hope you found this useful, and just stay on top of what's happening with Coffee and Waypoint and Friends, because we hope to bring you more guests and more information. So thank you, everybody.